On the news tonight, National Union of Road Transport Workers, Delta State Council, inaugurates caretaker committee. President Tinubu urges ECOWAS member states to reject the vice forces. House of Representatives postpones resumption date. And abroad, President Biden presses Israel to protect aid workers and civilians in Gaza. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us for Delta TV News at 8. I am Blessing Usiagbada. The state governor, Honorable Sheriff Oboriwori, has said his administration is pained about the recent crisis leading to the killing of some army officers and soldiers at Okwama community in Ughelli South local government area of the state. Governor Oboriwori said this when he received the chairman and members of the board of inquiry set up by the defense headquarters to probe the Okwama crisis at the Government House Annex, Warri South local government area. The governor, who narrated how the state managed the situation, said his administration would do all it could to assist the board in its assignment. He said to honor the deceased officers and soldiers, he led a high-powered delegation of members of the State Security Council and members of the State Executive Council to attend their funeral. While saying that proper investigation should be conducted to fish out the real culprits of a heinous crime, the governor said innocent citizens should not be made to suffer any further. Earlier, chairman of the Board of Inquiry, Air Vice Marshal David Ajayi, said the board was in the state to investigate the unfortunate incident that happened at Okwama community. He said the report would also help to ensure healthy communication that would enhance civil-military relations and ensure that economic activities thrive again in the affected communities. Air Vice Marshal Ajayi enjoined the governor to assist the board in its inquiry to ensure that relevant stakeholders were invited to give account of what led to the crisis. The National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW, an affiliate of Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, Delta State Council, has constituted a caretaker committee that will run for 3 months. The inauguration held at the NURTW State Secretariat at the Coca Park in Asaba. Mora Isopan reports.
The inauguration of the new caretaker committee of the NURTW Delta State Council resulted from the landmark judgment by Honorable Justice O.O. Oyewumi of the National Industrial Court sitting in Abuja Judicial Division on March 11, 2024, over the dispute between the union's national president, Comrade Tajuddin Baruwa, and 13 others over Alhaji Najim Usman Yansi and 6 others. In the judgment, the court declared all actions taken by the Alhaji Najim Yassin-led faction since their alleged forceful takeover of the National Secretariat of the Union as unlawful, null, void, and of no effect whatsoever, which implied that all elections into all organs of the Union as conducted by Alhaji Najim Yassin-led council has been nullified. The State Secretary, Dr. Okolo Gift Chukwuemeka, while addressing the House, said it was against this backdrop and in line with the provisions of the Constitution of the Union that a State Caretaker Committee comprising 10 members was put in place.
Committees shall work with the dictates and the provisions of the NUR Constitution. So we have a guiding constitution. So the government that I am going to be part of, I will not succumb to anybody that comes outside this thing. Our activities, our directives must be in line with the Constitution of the Union. As we went to Abuja, they handed over this to me. Don't ask me any questions, they go and follow this thing. So I'm going to follow this, in fact, hook, line, and sinker.
Also speaking, the chairman of the body, Comrade Patrick Okwando, tasked all members of the union to uphold peace and work together for the unity of the union, while shunning every form of violence in the state and beyond.
I want to encourage everybody, and we need peace in whatever we are doing, because all of us are diverse. as far as this National Union of Council is concerned, in Delta State, we need peace. And we need to carry everybody along. We need to carry everybody along. All the branches and units to the last unit. So please, if anybody come across your way, any problem, come and report to this house.
The 10-man committee, which is mandated to take over the administration of the Delta State Council of the Union with a 3-month tenure, is led by the chairman, Comrade Patrick Okpandu, with Comrade Napoleon Adibu as treasurer and Chief Victor Igede as financial secretary, while Dr. Okolo Gift Chukwemeka will serve as the union secretary. Other members are Chief Igbene Odemoro, Comrade Frank Agaga, Comrade Umuna Nwosisi, the former state chairman, Comrade Augustine Oji, Comrade Sunday Itimi, and Comrade Sergeant Itovo. Mora Isokma reporting.
President Bola Tinubu has called on member states of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to come together, strengthen ties, and reject forces bent on causing division within the community. Speaking at the inauguration of the 6th legislature of the ECOWAS Parliament, President Tinubu, who is the chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, said regional solidarity was imperative to strengthen the bloc's resilience and effectiveness at this critical juncture. He emphasized that member states could not afford to remain passive spectators while the community faced the threat of disintegration, adding that they must ensure that cooperation amongst the countries was strengthened with a view to building a sense of common destiny and purpose. President Tinubu averred that reinforcing the legitimacy of the decisions taken by the Authority of Heads of State was key in sending a message that ECOWAS was one indivisible body, adding that it was important that the executives, on the other hand, showed similar confidence in the parliament, which would indeed deepen democracy in the region. He reaffirmed Nigerians' unwavering commitment to the aspirations of the community and, by extension, the fundamental objectives upon which the ECOWAS Parliament was established. Affirming the important role of the Parliament in the bloc's journey towards a future of peace and prosperity for all, President Tinubu said success could not be achieved without the loyal contribution and hard work of the community's legislative agency. The House of Representatives has postponed its resumption date from the ongoing recess by 1 week. The resumption date, earlier slated for Tuesday, April 16, 2024, has been shifted to Tuesday, April 23, 2024. A statement by its spokesman and chairman, House Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Mr. Akin Rotimi Jr., today explained that the action was to accommodate the completion of renovations to the main chamber of the House of Representatives to ensure its readiness for plenary sessions henceforth. The statement enjoined the lawmakers to continue with productive constituency engagement while House committees continue to hold meetings and perform oversight functions. The Minority Caucus of the House of Representatives has condemned the hike in electricity tariffs across Nigeria by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC, describing the act as insensitive, inhuman, and evil. A statement by the leader of the caucus, Honorable Kingsley Chinda in Abuja, said the abrupt hike, which placed an unbearable burden on the already strained populace, exacerbating economic hardship and widening the chasm of inequality, must not be tolerated. Honorable Chinda said such a hike, which was over 200% above the rate of inflation, utterly disregarded the plight of ordinary citizens who were grappling with the adverse effects of the removal of oil subsidy, galloping inflation, unemployment, and inadequate access to basic amenities. According to him, NEC claimed that the immediate aftermath of the announcement of the tariff hike affected only 12% of electricity consumers who enjoyed minimum of 20 hours of electricity a day, asserting that the claim was a stark lie, as the hike, according to data put out by the DISCOs, affected all electricity consumers. The Minority Caucus decried the habitual resort to deceit and outright lies, saying it clearly put government in bad light and eroded the trust and confidence of the populace in the government. According to the group, the timing of the tariff hike amidst prevailing economic challenges was not only insensitive, but also detrimental to the well-being of Nigerians, further highlighting the disconnect between policymakers and the realities faced by the masses. The caucus pointed out that governments in the Western world were doing all they could to protect citizens against the adverse effect of the pandemic on economies, saying in the United Kingdom, for example, where anti-subsidy proselyticize preached against subsidies, the government had paid almost £40 billion in energy subsidies since it began to help households and businesses cope with a surge in power bills after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Meanwhile, the nation's electricity regulator, NEC, has imposed sanctions on the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, AEDC, for wrongly applying the new electricity tariff on some residents of the federal capital. The sanctions include a 200 million naira fine and a directive that the wrongly billed customers be appropriately refunded. The sanctions were announced in a statement today by the NEC management following complaints by several residents of Abuja who tried to buy electricity units days after a tariff increase was announced. NEC has said the tariff increase was meant for customers on Band A who enjoyed about 20 hours of electricity daily. However, some Abuja residents on other bands who tried to buy electricity units were also made to pay the new charges, although the AEDC has apologized and described the situation as an error. Minister of State for Housing and Urban Development, Abdullahi Tijani Mohammed Gwazo, has said Nigeria has been elected as the current chair of the Executive Board of the United Nations Human Settlement Program, UN Habitat. This was revealed during a meeting between the UN Habitat's Portfolio Manager for West Africa, Mr. Matthias Spalivero, and Gwazo. He said Nigeria is the current chair of the Executive Board of the United Nations Human Settlement Program, UN Habitat. Mr. Gwazo expressed delight and assured the program manager that Nigeria would accomplish assignments. He therefore sought more collaboration between the ministry and UN Habitat as critical partners in realizing the vision of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda for housing and urban development in Nigeria. The minister reiterated the commitment of the ministry in securing healthy and decent environments for all Nigerians. Mr. Gwazo assured the UN Habitat team that the ministry is making a concerted effort towards ensuring that the arrears of 2022 and 2023 contributions amounting to $500,000 are paid as soon as possible. Earlier, Mr. Spalivero had said two countries, Cameroon and Kenya, stepped down for Nigeria to assume the chair of the executive board. As part of efforts aimed at motivating police personnel in the fight against insecurity, the Inspector General of Police, IGP, Mr. Kayode Egbetunkun, has authorized the promotion of 10,581 deserving junior officers of the Inspectorate cadre and the rank and file. Following the directive, the Deputy Inspector General of Police, DIG, overseeing the Department of Finance and Administration, Mr. Bala Siroma, has been tasked with coordinating efforts alongside the Commissioner of Police Welfare to commence the promotion process. The first Public Relations Officer, ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, who disclosed this to newsmen in Abuja, listed those to be promoted as 9,831 police constables to be promoted to the rank of corporal, 81 corporals to be promoted to the rank of sergeant, and 669 officers set to progress from the rank of sergeant to inspectors. He said the IGP, in approving the promotions, reiterated the determination of the force leadership to foster a culture of meritocracy and career advancement, emphasizing the pivotal role of timely promotions in enhancing the morale of officers and bolstering the overall effectiveness of the force. The IGP extended his congratulations to the officers slated for promotion and urged them to uphold the highest standards of professionalism, integrity, and service to the nation. The Nigerian Union of Teachers, NUT, and the National Association of Proprietors of Private Schools, NAPS, has asked the federal government to fully implement the Safe School Initiative so as to combat the incessant abductions of teachers and learners across the country. The national president, NUT, Mr. Audu Titus Amba, in an interview yesterday, expressed his disappointment at the manner at which education stakeholders were usually kidnapped in schools. This, according to him, often led to the death of some staff and parents' lack of interest in sending their children back to school. He was reacting to the March 7 abduction of LEA Primary School and Government Secondary School, Kuriga, Kaduna State school children. The abduction of 287 children in Kaduna State was one of the largest school kidnappings in the decade since the 2014 kidnapping of schoolgirls in Chibok Village, Borno State. The Chibok girls' abduction led to the unveiling of Safe School initiative by the federal government as part of efforts to ensure that children in conflict areas or affected by insecurity continue with their education. Furthermore, President Muhammadu Buhari in December 2019 signed the Safe School Declaration ratification document. In addition, the federal government in December 2022 launched 144.8 billion naira Safe School financing plan with a view to protecting schools from terrorist attacks across the nation. However, a report stated that the initiative, largely implemented by the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, had only covered 21,000 schools out of the 80,000 identified as vulnerable to attacks by bandits, terrorists, and kidnappers. Mr. Amba said government needs to intensify efforts to implement the Safe School initiative so as to protect school children, as most schools do not have perimeter fencing, while urging the government to provide security personnel for each school. Mr. Amba called on the government to include teachers as members of the forum, adding that they were in the best position to give government ideas and suggestions on how to make the schools more secured. The national president, NAPS, Mr. Yomi Odubela, appealed to the government to bridge the gap of trust deficit between them and the governed by allocating more budget to the Safe School policy so that it gets implemented appropriately and nationally. He advised government to provide enough safety technological appliances for both private and public schools. This is Delta TV News at 8. Still to come, President Biden presses Israel to protect aid workers and civilians in Gaza. Details of the story and many more will come after the short break. Please stay with us. Welcome back and thank you so much for staying tuned. The global scene is next as we join our world news desk.
President Joe Biden threatened conditional support for Israel's offensive in Gaza, on it taking concrete steps to protect aid workers and civilians, seeking for the first time to leverage U.S. aid to influence Israeli military behavior. President Biden's warning relayed in a call with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu followed a deadly Israeli attack on War Central Kitchen aid workers that spurred new calls from Biden's fellow Democrats to place conditions on U.S. aid to Israel. Israel said the attack was a mistake. The U.S. president, a lifelong supporter of Israel, has resisted pressure to withhold aid or halt the shipment of weapons to the country. His warning marked the first time he has threatened to potentially condition aid, a development that could change the dynamic of the nearly 6-month-old war. President Biden made clear the need for Israel to enhance and implement a series of specific, concrete, and measurable steps to address civilian harm, humanitarian suffering, and the safety of aid workers. France President Emmanuel Macron has said that his country could have stopped the 1994 Rwanda genocide, where ethnic Hutu extremists killed more than 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus. Mr. Macron said in a video message that France, which could have stopped the genocide with its Western and African allies, lacked the will to do so. The video is said to be aired during the 30th commemoration of the Rwanda genocide on Sunday. The event is said to be attended by several international guests, including French Foreign Minister Stéphane Séjourné and ex-US President Bill Clinton. Relations between France and Rwanda have recently been on the net following years of tensions over France's alleged involvement in the genocide. France has been accused of failing to do enough to stop the Rwanda genocide. French leaders have denied its complicity in the genocide. However, in a 2021 visit to Rwanda, Mr. Macron said that France had a duty to recognize the suffering she has inflicted on the Rwandan people by too long valuing silence over the examination of the truth. Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio has declared a national emergency because of the rampant drug abuse in the country. Kush, a mixture of addictive substance with similar effects to cannabis and tramadol, has been prevalent in the country for years, especially in urban areas. President Bio said in an address to the nation that the country was currently facing an existential threat due to the devastating impact of drugs and drug addiction, in particular the devastating synthetic drug Kush. He noted that the deadly Kush is taking a devastating toll on their communities. The president said his government was working to dismantle drug trafficking networks in the country. The drug, which is also known as K2, is easily accessible to unemployed young people seeking an escape from poverty and traumas of life.
And back home, the state government has reiterated its resolve in providing a peaceful atmosphere for business to thrive in the state. The State Commissioner for Transport, Mr. Onorode Agofure, stated this at the reconstitution and inauguration of the Delta State Council National Union of Road Transport Workers, Delta State Council. Details of this report will be brought to you in our subsequent bulletins. And in business, 12 states in the country are forging ahead with plans for independent power projects empowered by the Electricity Act 2023, a hopeful sign for Nigerians' long-standing battle with insufficient electricity. The act, signed into law last June, decentralized control of electricity generation, granting states the authority to generate, transmit, and distribute power within their jurisdictions. The newfound autonomy has sparked a flurry of activity, with Lagos, Kano, and 10 other states having reportedly finalized plans for power projects eager to address their own energy needs. Some states have even established the electricity market laws, seeking approval to set up independent regulatory bodies separate from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC. This means that until a state has passed its electricity market laws, the NEC will continue to regulate electricity businesses in such states. Let's join our business news desk for more happenings in the business sector.
Central Bank of Nigeria has sold 676.65 billion through the open market operation OMO at a 21% interest rate to manage the money supply. This is according to data from CBN's 1st April auction schedule yesterday. Primarily, the auction targets the management of the banking system's liquidity to prevent an oversupply of Naira, which could trigger inflationary pressures. Also, it aims to provide an avenue for the CBN to stabilize the financial markets by offering competitive returns to investors, thus aligning the country's monetary policy with its economic objectives. Accordingly, the Apex Bank leveraged higher interest rates to attract a strong turnout from the investors, utilizing OMO bills to absorb excess liquidity from the financial system. Further analysis showed that with an offering of 75 billion naira, the 97-day bills attracted a subscription of 17 billion naira, with the total sale mirroring the subscription figure. These short-term bills cleared at a top rate of 19%, reflected a conservative interest from investors. The medium-term offering, consisting of the 188 days bill with the same 75 billion naira on the block, saw an elevated subscription at 20.25 billion naira, reflecting a conservative investor interest. The clearing stop rate of 19.50% resulted in sales worth 7.25 billion, significantly below the amount offered. The stock market of the Nigeria Exchange Limited (NGX) witnessed further losses as market capitalization dropped by 252 billion naira. Accordingly, the market capitalization closed at 58.653 trillion naira as against 58.905 trillion naira posted on Wednesday, representing a 0.43% decrease. Similarly, the all-share index also fell by 445.24 points or 0.43%, closing at 103,736.08 points from 104,181.32 recorded on Wednesday. This decline pushed the year-to-date YTD return down to 38.73%. Bearish sentiments affected key stocks such as MTN Nigeria and Tier 1 banks, including Guaranty Trust Holding Company, Zenith Bank, Access Corporation, Transcorp, and United Capital plc, which dragged the market into negative territory. The market breadth closed negative with 26 losers and 23 gainers. On the losers table, C&I Leasing plc led by 9.79% to close at 3.50 naira. A Mutual Benefit Assurance trade by 8.57% to close at 64 kobo per share. Tantalizer lost 7.89% to close at 35 kobo. Unity Bank dropped 7.39% to close at 2.13 naira. And Jais Bank declined by 7.23% to close at 2.18 per share. Conversely, Morrison Industry plc led the gainers table by 9.84% to close at 2.12, and Skol Nigeria plc rose by 9.77% to close at 2.36 per share. International Energy Insurance gained 9.72% to close at 1.58 naira. NEM Insurance advanced by 9.50% to close at 9.80 naira. And the Initiative plc added 8.70% to close at 2.50 per share. However, analysts of the market activities show trade turnover settled higher relative to the previous session, with the value of transactions up by 75.57%. Also, 487.73 million shares valued at 15.64 billion naira were exchanged in 8,908 deals, compared to 405.03 million shares valued at 8.91 billion naira in 10,364 deals posted in the previous section. Zenith Bank lead the activity chart in volume and value with 161.68 million shares traded at 7.03 billion, followed by GT with 54.36 million shares worth 2.73 billion naira. UBA sold 47.82 million shares worth 1.30 billion naira. Access Corporation traded 40.88 million shares valued at 950.44 million naira, and Transcorp sold 28.35 million shares worth 385.01 million naira.
Next is entertainment news. Let's join our entertainment news desk for the latest news on entertainment.
An Abuja Magistrate Court sitting in Season 6 has issued criminal summons on 5 persons: Okoronko Ejike, Kingsley Ibe, DJ Sportkid, Terrence Eckert, and Samuel Agose for alleged defamation of gospel singer Mercy Chinwo. The summons is signed by the Registrar of the Court, Emmanuel Inyana. They are to appear before the courts on the 23rd of this month for alleging that popular singer gospel Nathaniel Bassey fathered Mercy's son. This followed a direct criminal complaint filed by Pastor Blessed Uzochikwa, husband of Mercy, against the 5 individuals for criminal defamation through his lawyer led by Belumi Olajebensi. Mr. Uzochikwa said the alleged acts of criminal defamation were carried out through deliberate circulation of injurious falsehood, cyberbullying, and cyberstalking. The defendants recently alleged that the popular gospel singer Nathaniel Bassey Father, the son of Mercy Chinwo, an allegation that has gone viral on the social media space. They made the allegations on their social media accounts when Mercy and her husband posted pictures of their son and themselves on different social media platforms on March 29. According to them, the Uzochikwa's sons has a vivid resemblance of Bassey, insinuating he could be the real father of the child. The posts have since cast buzz on social media, with many calling out on Bassey on why he should be involved in such an appalling act. Similarly, Bassey, who has done several music collaborations with Chinwo, also petitioned the Inspector General of Police, IGP, Mr. Kayode Ebotunku, over the allegation. In a petition filed by his lawyers, Peter Abraham, Uche Matthew, Gbenga Agunloye, and Anthony Abia, he asked the IGP to investigate and prosecute the social media users who accused him of alleged paternity fraud. The lawyers said the social media posts by the individuals amounted to the complete assassination of Nathaniel Bassey's character and therefore urged the police authorities to urgently treat the petition against them. The Federal High Court in Lagos has convicted controversial crossdresser Idris Okuneye, popularly known as Bobrisky, for abusing the naira. Justice Abimbola Awoboro convicted him after the review of the facts of the case. In his allocutions, Bobrisky told the courts that he was not aware of the law on abusing the naira. He said that he was a social media influencer with over 5 million followers. The judge then told him that ignorance of the law was not an excuse. Earlier, Bobrisky was arraigned on 4 counts of naira abuse preferred against him by the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, EFCC. The crossdresser, who refers to himself as Mommy of Lagos, pleaded guilty to the charges.
In sports, Rivers United yesterday departed the country for their CAF Confederation Cup quarter-final second-leg clash against USM Alger of Algeria. The Pride of Rivers left the Port Harcourt International Airport aboard an Air Peace flight to Lagos before connecting with a direct flight to Algiers. The contingent, which consists of players and officials, arrived in Algeria today. The encounter is billed to take place at the Stade de Gillette on Sunday from 8 p.m. local time. Rivers United defeated the defending champions 1-0 in the first leg last Sunday. The more agenda of the Oboriwori administration is impacting positively on sports development in Delta State and the South region at large. The Director of Administration in the Delta State Sports Commission, Mr. Onorode Omajaja, who made the assertion while speaking as a guest on the Voice of Delta FM program, Orientation Panorama, said the State Sports Commission had witnessed positive changes under Governor Sheriff Oboriwori's administration. He noted that the progress made in sports development had further repositioned the state to excel in all sporting events, including football, track and field, while commending Governor Oboriwori for prioritizing sports and for his plans to upgrade the Warri Stadium to a world-class facility. Mr. Onorode recalled the numerous sports stars the state had produced over the years, which he attributed to the consistency in sporting programs and upgrade of equipment and training facilities, coupled with the abundance of talent in the state, as could be seen from its many victories in sports, making it the unbeatable champion in national competitions. The sport administrator enjoined the teaming youth in the state to take up sports, which according to him had produced icons and successful individuals who had proven to be role models, adding that sports had a huge reward system. Also speaking, the Director of Information and Public Relations in the Sports Commission, Mrs. Franca Okoma, said the State Sports Commission was always making training facilities available to the youths who wished to develop their career in sports as a way of creating an enabling environment for the discovery of talent in the state. The monthly meeting of the Anochia Social Cycle holds tomorrow. A statement signed by the Publicity Secretary of the body, Mr. Ephraim Osubo, says this month's meeting will hold at the residence of Sir Ben Mweteke, Idumuni Quarters, Iseluku, and Anochia North Local Government Area. The statement has enjoined members to be punctual to the meeting, which begins at 1 p.m. All indigents of Ogwashuku in Anocha South, residents in Asaba, Opanam and its environs, have details are to call the PRO on 0803 636 3956. 0803 636 3956. And now, our thought for the day. It's easy to stand in the crowd, but it takes courage to stand alone. Just before we go, let's take a look at some of our major stories. The National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW, an affiliate of Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, Delta State Council, has constituted a caretaker committee that will run for 3 months. The inauguration held at the NURTW State Secretariat at the Coca Park in Asaba. President Bola Tinubu has called on member states of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to come together, strengthen ties, and reject forces bent on causing division within the community. The House of Representatives has postponed its resumption date from the ongoing recess by 1 week. The resumption date, earlier slated for Tuesday, April 16, 2024, has been shifted to Tuesday, April 23, 2024. We also reported that President Joe Biden threatened conditioned support for Israel's offensive in Gaza on its taking concrete steps to protect aid workers and civilians, seeking for the first time to leverage U.S. aid to influence Israeli military behavior. That ends Delta TV News at 8. Thank you so much for watching. I am Blessing Usiagbada, wishing you a peaceful night rest.